Welcome to the Rise Up in Business podcast. I'm Tracy Myler-Crane and I'm your host. I'm a business lawyer, an entrepreneur, a wife and a mum to two wonderful little people. This podcast is designed to be the business and law podcast for small business owners. Each episode explores different business and legal concepts in a clear and easy to understand way, all delivered in bite-sized chunks that are easy to listen to. You're sure to be able to take little nuggets of gold from each episode and implement them into your business straight away. I'm bringing you these podcast episodes each week with my intention being to share with you what you need to know to feel empowered so you can rise up and take control in your business. Let's get into today's episode. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Rise Up in Business podcast. We are up to episode 66 of the podcast and I can hardly believe it. I'm so grateful to every single one of you for listening and for sharing my podcast with your business friends and colleagues, as I know that you do from the beautiful feedback that I receive. It really means the world to me to be able to share real value with you that I know from experience works. So I'm just delighted. I'm delighted that you listen and I'm just delighted to continue recording this podcast for you. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you the biggest mistake I see small business owners make time and time again. It's not out of malice that these types of mistakes are made, and it's certainly not out of lack. It's more out of a desire to work hard and a desire to try to do what business owners think is best. And I just want to preface this before I dive in and say, mistakes are not bad. Mistakes really are part and parcel of the journey for all business owners, and there's nothing wrong with that. I personally think that we ought to embrace the experience of making mistakes as a whole and learn from them and move on. Very much an onwards and upwards approach. But the reality is that that's not always the case for everyone. And the problem arises really when we continue to make the same mistake over and over again, when we're not learning from them. That's when it becomes a negative and that's when it's not useful. A little statistic here, the reality that we face as small business owners is that 60% of small businesses fail within the first 3 years. And I know that's not going to be news to everybody, but it'll be a surprise for some. So according to the odds, you're really up against the tide as a small business owner right from the outset. So we need to arm ourselves, I think, with as much value and knowledge and guidance as we can to make sure that our business is not one of those 60% businesses. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, or indeed following me in other platforms, then you would have heard me say so many times that small business owners are often wearing all the hats, doing all the things, feeling the pressure, and ultimately putting themselves in a position where exhaustion is real, burnout is real, and ultimately they're stifling their own growth. So I share my views on this in earlier episodes of this podcast. I share my views on this and a whole range of other things on my email list, which goes out every fortnight, as well as the oodles of resources that we publish regularly on the resources page on the website. And if you're familiar with any of that, then the concept of me saying, as business owners, we're wearing all the hats, and this is what it leads to, won't be new to you. If you're not on my email list, or if you haven't familiarised yourself with the resources available on the resources page of the website, feel free to dive over to the website and check those out and sign up to the email list if you're interested in hearing more. Okay, so diving into the number one mistake that I see business owners make time and time again, it is not surrounding themselves with the right people. Thinking they need to do all the things all the time themselves. That's it. So this can take the form of refusing to outsource in business, refusing to bring in contractors, refusing to grow their team and hire employees, not prioritising themselves and their support networks, so not seeing the value in spending time with business besties or the right mastermind group, for example. Or business owners that just don't see the value in business mentoring or coaching. They're just not recognising that there's value in asking for help and engaging the right people, that they don't actually have to do everything on their own all the time. This really is a case, I think, of we're all experts in hindsight. And once we cross the bridge of relinquishing that attitude or that view that we hold on to about having to do everything ourselves and we hoard all of the things, we can look back with such liberation and realize, oh my gosh, this has been a game changer, that I've changed the way I do business. But it takes a while to get there. And I see that so often. For example, as small business owners, we don't all need to know how to run our own Facebook ads. We don't all need to do our own bookkeeping. And in fact, I actually encourage you not to. We don't need to know how to draft our own legal agreements or how to review agreements that somebody's given us to sign before we enter into a transaction. We don't need to know what clauses to include in a contractor agreement or an employment agreement. That is what your business lawyer is for. That is what I'm for. If social media is draining the life out of you and taking every last bit of enthusiasm and energy that you've got left, you don't need to do it yourself. There is support available for that. When we take everything on our shoulders as small business owners to either keep costs down or because we have a fear around what can go wrong if we engage the wrong person, or because we think it'll be too difficult to train and supervise a team member, or if we just flat out think that it's easy to do it ourselves because no one else will be able to do it as well as we can and I just don't have the time to train somebody up. What we're really doing is loading the pressure on ourselves so much that it becomes unsustainable and it is limiting our growth as business owners. We're essentially sabotaging our own success by doing that. And like I said, this doesn't come from a position of malice or a position of greed or anything like that. It comes genuinely from a position where a business owner thinks that they're doing the right thing. But the truth is, what I see when business owners do this, that's when mistakes start happening. So believe it or not, things start falling through the cracks the more and more we're taking on ourselves. So that is the point where red flags start popping up everywhere because businesses are becoming exposed to claims or potential lawsuits because the quality isn't there. The high standards of the services aren't there, and clients and consumers become disgruntled. And that, my friend, is a slippery slide. That is what we want to avoid. When it comes to things that can go wrong in business, honestly, I don't think there's anything I haven't seen. I spent the first 12 years of my career practicing in litigation and dispute resolution. And, well, for a start, I did. Not many lawyers can say that, I've got to be honest. Most lawyers do it the other way and they start in the business or commercial space and they move into litigation purely by necessity a lot of the time because their clients are getting sued. I flipped that and I do my business the other way. So the first 12 years of my career were spent in that litigation and dispute resolution environment, in court all day, every day, acting for businesses where things have gone wrong. And so I've seen what happens. I've seen businesses be destroyed, livelihoods be destroyed, marriages fall apart because of the pressure that is placed on businesses when you get to this point of things going wrong. The sad thing about all of that is that, honestly, most of what I saw during that time could have been avoided if the business owners had have known different and done different. That's what I do now in my business. That's part of the reason for this podcast. That's the reason why I share the value that I do and the reason I act for the clients I do, because we put into place all the things we need to avoid my clients and you ending up in a position where you need to call someone like me later because things have gone horribly wrong. The key here is that it could have been avoided. And it can be avoided. There are so many angles that I can talk about on this particular topic. I could talk about this for days, but the takeaway for this episode is that when we have limiting beliefs attached to doing all the things ourselves as a business owner, it is unsustainable and it is just a matter of time before the cracks appear and things start breaking down. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying things can be avoided. These things don't have to happen. It doesn't have to happen to you. You don't have to be that business owner that falls into the 60% of small businesses that fail in the first 3 years. And you don't need to be the business owner that comes to me in a hot mess and says, I really need your help with this because this is what's happened. I've dropped the ball. Now I need you to dig me out of this big black hole. And of course I will. I will help you do that. But the point is, we don't need to get that far. Engage the experts. Bring in the support that you need. Bring on a bookkeeper if that's your pain point. Have a great relationship with your business lawyer and a kick-ass accountant, not a dull, dry accountant who just doesn't give you the time of day. Work with a copywriter if that's what's holding you back. Don't try to design your own website if that's not your jam. These are just a few of the ones that I see often where people genuinely think, I'm going to save costs by doing this, I'm going to save time by doing this, and I can do it better. It's just easier if I do it myself. And the truth is, none of those things ring true once you get to the point of realizing that you would have been better off in your business focusing on revenue generation and growing your business rather than doing your bookkeeping, rather than building your website, or, for example, rather than stressing over your social media every other week. What I really want to focus on here as the takeaway is grow your team. Think big. Doing it all yourself is not necessary, it's not sustainable, and it is fraught with risk. I just want to shine a light here for a moment on risk. So managing risk is part of what we do as business owners. This is why we need to get good legal advice from a business lawyer who knows their stuff. That would be me, in case you didn't know. This is why you have insurance, to manage your risk. This is why your accountant has set you up with a proper business structure that's right for you to manage your risk. And this is why you get a bookkeeper on board, to ensure you're meeting your obligations because you're managing your risk. So managing your risk is also why you get the help you need when you need it, and surround yourself with a support network that lifts you up rather than overloading yourself to the point of reaching exhaustion and burnout. It's not good for you, it's not good for the business, and it's not good for your clients either. The biggest mindset shift I think here is that when you flip this and start thinking about growing and outsourcing and getting the support you need, you do that because you ought to be valuing yourself, valuing your time, and nurturing the brilliant human that you are, because you are worthy and you do deserve to be prioritized. And once we conquer that mountain of mindset work, the rest, in my experience, from what I've seen and from my own personal experience, the rest is easy. I really am passionate about supporting small business owners on their business journey. And as you can tell from this episode and from so many other episodes, I'm committed to sharing what I see as the real value and real nuggets of gold that you can take away and do something usefully with in your business now. And so the nugget of gold from today's episode, I'm hoping, is value yourself, get the support you need, outsource to the experts. Don't do it all yourself because you don't have to. I mentioned earlier in the episode my email list, and I just want to share a little more about that. So I have an email list who I email fortnightly with real value. I draft it myself, and it actually has real value that you can implement in your business. I don't email you about my kids and what I've had for dinner because I'm a realist and I know that no one cares, and particularly my life's not that exciting. But I do share tips and tricks and information with you, guidance that relates to small business. I share value that you can take away and implement. I share things that are interesting and relevant to you as a small business owner. So please, if you're not on the list, jump over to the website, tmsolicitor.com.au, and you can sign up there. And I would just really love it if you did. And while you're there, if you're interested, you can check out the resources page on the website. We update this every other week with more real value guidance and perspectives that you can use to move your business forward and make useful decisions in your business. And I often refer new and existing clients to some of the resources that are published on here because it's a really useful way to answer some short, sharp questions that you might have and just don't know where to start, or you just don't know what to do about something. Check out the resources page because chances are you might find the answer there already. That is it from me for today's episode, friends. Thank you so much for listening. I just love delivering these podcast episodes to you. If you are enjoying them, I really would be so grateful if you would leave a review. And if you think that this episode might resonate with anybody that you know, please feel free to share. Thanks so much. Catch you next week. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for joining me. I very much appreciate you taking the time to listen. If you liked the episode, please be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. And if you found this episode to be of value for you in your business, I would be ever so grateful if you would take a moment to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, because that will help this podcast reach the ears of more business owners. If you haven't already, Don't forget to jump over to my website and download your free copy of my annual legal checklist designed specifically for small business owners. And if you're ready to set your business up so you can get paid every time hassle-free, check out my course, Getting Paid Made Easy. You can access these resources on my website at tmsolicitor.com.au. Remember, in business, prevention is better than cure. I'll be back with another episode for you next week. Until then, take care.